Hi, I'm tired. I'm tired because it's Friday, it's the end of the work week, but I'm also tired because it's 2020 and who's not tired, right? Everyone is tired, everyone is fed up, and I don't know, I mean, especially lately, this week has been tough, right? Breonna Taylor's killers were not brought to justice, and there are plenty of people who still think it was her fault. Uh, I don't even know if fault's the right word, but you know what I mean. There are people out there who are always trying to make it seem like the problem with the broken system is the people who it breaks and not the actual system. And that, I guess, brings me to why I want to read a book together. I've been thinking about this for months, right? I mean, here we are, equal opportunity reader. That is me, c'est moi. Equal opportunity reader is this thing, and we've got Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, which nobody follows. I don't even follow it. And Pinterest, which I don't know what I was thinking. And TikTok, which I knew what I was thinking, but I'm like 20 years too old for it. Anyway, Equal Opportunity Reader has a web presence. And originally, my original idea for Equal Opportunity Reader, back when it was called Black Book of the Week, but I expanded it. A lot of stuff happened. Anyway, back when I first had my first iteration of BookTube, way back in the day, my entire idea was to be a booktube. I wanted to do videos. I didn't necessarily want to do a blog. Oh, I have a blog too. Didn't mention that. I'll put links to all this in the description box. Follow it there. But what I wanted to do was have videos and read books and talk about books that I read and things that I did, which in retrospect was maybe not a good idea. I'm not good at videos. I mean, here we are. I'm not good at videos. Let's be real. I'm sure somebody's going to come along and criticize the content solely based on how it looks. Like, why don't you get this camera? Why don't you use this microphone? Why don't you have an intro and an outro and some background music? Completely ignoring the fact that I am speaking to you and you should perhaps be listening to the content because, I mean, after all, that's the point of the video. Or maybe not. I don't know anymore. Point is, I'm tired. You're tired. Originally, I wanted this to be a booktube channel and review and talk about books, but I'm not really booktube speed usually most of the time. I mean, I don't really unbox a lot of stuff. I don't do hauls. I don't read YA. There's a lot of stuff I don't do, and a lot of stuff I do, but every time I go on booktube, I'm like, really? Okay. But I would like to read a book with everybody. Not a book club. I hate book clubs. Book clubs are usually a bunch of women sitting around talking about their feelings about a book that nobody really wanted to read. Just like, and so my feelings when Jonathan climbed the mountain to speak to the. Nobody cares about your feelings. Nobody cared about the book. We really just showed up so that we could A, drink, B, be at this restaurant, C, not be in the house with our kids and or significant other and or our creeping sense of existential dread. All of those things. I don't like book clubs. This isn't a book club. This is basically, I just want to read a book together. I want to talk about this book because I started reading it last night and I know that I'm going to have a lot of feelings about it and a lot of thoughts. And I want to talk about them and I want you to talk about them. And this is a book club, isn't it? Shit. Anyway, it's a book club, but we're not calling it that. This is a read along. Let me tell you about the book that I want to read. I want to read Caste. It's by Isabel Wilkerson. She's a Black woman. She was previously known for writing The Warmth of Other Suns, which is about the Great Migration. If you don't know what that is, well, no big surprise. I never learned it in school in history. I don't think anybody does now. But it was a critical point, a critical turning point for American culture and for Black American culture more specifically. It is when lots of Black American people, lured by the promise of less racism, if not no racism, less racism, higher wages, more convenient living conditions, migrated from the American South to the American North, which changed the face of a lot of Northern American cities like Cincinnati or Chicago. Lots of cities changed because of this great migration, and Black American culture changed indelibly because of this great migration. And because our culture changed, and we're Americans, all of America changed. Isabel Wilkerson wrote a great book about that. It's called The Warmth of Other Suns. Her new book is Caste. And Caste, well, it's Oprah's book clubs. Why do book clubs keep coming up? It's Caste, anyway. Caste is Oprah's book club selection, whatever. But Caste is about the systems of social stratification in the US, the way we see it now, the way that it's developed, the way it has been, the way it's always been, the way it will continue to be unless we really recognize it and do our best to change things, or at least be conscious about the things that are really a part of American culture. Now, America is America, and there's a whole lot that I could say about that, but this is not Mel's rantin' space. This is Equal Opportunity Reader, and we're talking about a book. So let's read Caste. Let's read this genius woman, Isabel Wilkerson. Let's read her talking about these social stratifications, breaking it down, giving us proofs, giving us history, and telling us more about the country that we're from, or the country that we live in, because I don't know if y'all know, but I don't live in America. I haven't in a long time. It doesn't make me any less American, despite what some people have to shady say. I'm still an American, just not there. Anyway, yeah, let's read this book. Let's find out more about our America. Let's look at our society. And let's talk about the things that Isabel's trying to tell us and see what we think. We're all different kinds of people here. We all have different ideas, different backgrounds, different ethnic makeups, different religions, different statuses as far as disability or ableness. We're all different genders, different sexualities. We're all different people. But many of us are, in fact, Americans, or are interested in Americans, or connected to America in some way. I don't want to limit it to just Americans in this book. Read along. In this read along. I don't want to limit it to just Americans in this read along. I just want to invite you, anybody who's interested, come join us. Join me. So no us yet, unless you want to join. Come join me. So let's read together. Let's read this book, Caste, together. I'll put a link to it in our. Why am I speaking in the plural like I'm a queen? Join us. It will be in our description box. Sorry, y'all. Not having delusions of grandeur. I simply am just that tired. You see these bags up under my eyes? As soon as I'm done here, I'm gonna go take a nap, okay? Anyway, let's read this book together. I will put a link to the book in the description box. Full disclosure, that link goes to my bookshop. It is an affiliate shop. If any of you buy the book from there, I'll get paid like $2 per book or something like that. I'd appreciate it if you do buy it from there, but you don't have to. I got a job. I'm not doing it for the money. I do it for the love. No. What is wrong with me? Oh, I'm tired. Okay. I seriously am not doing it for the money. Get the book if you want to read it with us. Get the book if you want to read it with me. Get it from your library, buy it on Amazon. Look, I'm not judging. If Amazon is your jam, get it on Amazon or Audible, or click my bookshop link in the description bar and you can buy a copy of the book and we'll start reading it. So we're going to start by reading this next week. Let's try and read, going into my handy dandy. I just told y'all not to order from Amazon, but look at me. On my Amazon Kindle that I bought this book from Amazon. Oh, such a hypocrite. I'm sorry. I don't mean it. It just is. I'm an American. Hey, what can I do? What can I say? Anyway, and let's start by reading the first 2 chapters of the book. Okay? Just the first 2. Chapter 1 is called The Afterlife of Pathogens. Interesting. And chapter 2 is called... What is chapter 2 called? And chapter 2 is called An Old House in an Infrared Light. Those don't sound fascinating. Trust me, they are. Now, I explained to you why I want to read Caste. I explained to you why I think the book is a good book. But I don't know that my explanation was very good, to be honest, because tired bags. Nap. So what I'm actually going to do right now is read you a little excerpt of the introduction because it made me think a lot. Just a little excerpt. Not a lot, but some. So the epigraph is from James Baldwin. You know he always gets the share. And Albert Einstein. I won't read that. I'm going to read you a little bit of the introduction, which is called The Man in the Crowd. And I want you to really think about this. At least I read it as I wasn't really expecting much, and I had to stop and really think about it. So listen to The Man in the Crowd. Get the book if it intrigues you. Next week, I'll do another video discussing what I think of chapters 1 and 2. And let's read together. Let's talk about this book. Let's look at America critically and lovingly and unflinchingly. Let's talk about where we fit in America and where we fit in the world. Because, America's not the center of the world. Nowhere is the center of the world. But I think that if you're on this page anyway, you have a connection to America because I am an American. And I talk a lot about American stuff, frankly. Not always, but mostly. I want to get everybody's opinion on this. I want people who are interested in this topic from around the world to weigh in, and I'm going to kind of lead the discussion with these videos. Give it comments, give it shares and likes and all that other stuff. Tired. Bags. Nap. All right, let's look at The Man in the Crowd. There is a famous black and white photograph from the era of the Third Reich. It is a picture taken in Hamburg, Germany in 1936 of shipyard workers, 100 or more, facing the same direction in the light of the sun. They are hiling in unison, their right arms rigid in outstretched allegiance to the Führer. If you look closely, you can see a man in the upper right who is different from the others. His face is gentle but unyielding. Modern-day displays of the photograph will often add a helpful red circle around the man or an arrow pointing to him. He is surrounded by fellow citizens caught under the spell of the Nazis. He keeps his arms folded to his chest, as the stiff palms of the others hover just inches from him. He alone is refusing to salute. He is the one man standing against the tide. Looking back from our vantage point, he is the only person in the entire scene who is on the right side of history. Everyone around him is tragically, fatefully, categorically wrong. In that moment, only he could see it. His name is believed to have been August Landmesser. At the time, he could not have known the murderous path the hysteria around him would lead to, but he had already seen enough to reject it. He had joined the Nazi Party himself years before. By now, though, he knew firsthand that the Nazis were feeding Germans lies about Jews, the outcasts of his era, that even this early in the Reich the Nazis had caused terror, heartache, and disruption. He knew that Jews were anything but Untermenschen, that they were German citizens, human as anyone else. He was an Aryan in love with a Jewish woman, but the recently enacted Nuremberg laws had made their relationship illegal. They were forbidden to marry or to have sexual relations, either of which amounted to what the Nazis called racial infamy. His personal experience and close connection to the scapegoated caste allowed him to see past the lies and stereotypes so readily embraced by susceptible members, the majority, sadly, of the dominant caste. Though Aryan himself, his openness to the humanity of the people who had been deemed beneath him gave him a stake in their well-being, their fates tied to his. He could see what his countrymen chose not to see. In a totalitarian regime such as that of the Third Reich, it was an act of bravery to stand firm against an ocean. We would all want to believe that we would have been him. We might feel certain that were we Aryan citizens under the Third Reich, we surely would have seen through it, would have risen above it like him, been that person resisting authoritarianism and brutality in the face of mass hysteria. We would like to believe that we would have taken the more difficult path of standing up against injustice in defense of the outcast. But unless people are willing to transcend their fears, endure discomfort and derision, suffer the scorn of loved ones and neighbors and co-workers and friends, fall into disfavor or perhaps everyone they know, face exclusion and even banishment, It would be numerically impossible, humanly impossible, for everyone to be that man. What would it take to be him in any era? What would it take to be him now? So, if that struck you the same way it struck me, get the book. Read the first 2 chapters. We'll talk about it next week. Peace, beautiful people. Later, fellow readers.